Hey guys, this is your host Adi and welcome to Comic Space, and today we are going to talk about some major spoilers regarding the upcoming Madam Web film. Today we have lots of interesting and great news, and it also explains how Madam Web character can also play a very pivotal role, just not in the Spider-Verse but also in the Multiverse saga as well. And again, spoiler alert if you don't want to spoil the film for yourself, so let's dive into it straight away. So all of our updates today are coming from Cryptic 4K Qual, and again he have a quite great track record and we have covered him a lot of time on the channel as well. So the first thing first that he have went on to reveal that the way Cassandra Webb is able to see the futures and what is going to happen, that she is able to access the realm that is called the web. So we are going to talk about the web and how it actually works. So she is just not able to see the future, but it also allows her to be at multiple places at the same point of time. So this is a quite a major update because this is pretty much like what happens in the comics and what type of role that Madam Web has played throughout the comic run. So a major update that we have today and a major reveal, because Sony themselves have talked about the web realm a lot of times. So if you have seen the recently released and an Oscar nominated film, and that is the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, so in that film Miguel also went on to explain what exactly the web is and how Miles described it in the Spider-Verse, that every spider people in the whole Spider-Verse, all of their fates are tied to this one Spider-Verse, because if anything goes haywire it can mess up with the whole timeline and with the whole Spider-Verse. And matter of fact, even in the comics, Ezekiel Sims was the one who actually explained to Peter Parker it was just not the radioactive spider that made him what he was, and that was Spider-Man, but he was actually destined to be that person. And throughout the whole Spider-Verse and the multiverse, whatever you want to call it, all of their fate, all of the fates of spider people are tied into this Spider-Verse, and that is what we're probably going to see in the film. And if this is going to be turned out to be true, in the web realm, which is the web of life and destiny for all of the spider people. So again, a very major reveal that I was really hoping forward, because that's what happens in the comics and that's what sort of a role Madam Web plays in the all of the appearance that we have seen of her in TVs or in the comics as well. So very pivotal concept and in character in the Spider-Verse. Moving on and talking about another major update that we have, and it can reveal the main villains of the film. So much like what happened in the comics, when Ezekiel Sims made his introduction in the comics, he was pretty much trying to alert Spider-Man that the mystical spider people who were part of a different dimension were actually going to attack. So that was just the gist of the story. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but again we can be seeing the same thing happening in the Madam Web film as well, because the Cryptic 4K Qual also went on to state that Spider-Man is not discussed, and much like what we have talked about in my previous video regarding Madam Web post-credit scene, Spider-Man is not mentioned, but instead it is Las Arenas, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. It is Las Arenas, a group of mystical spider people who are in Peru and transfer in tree tropes, and they are able to deliver punishment through their black touch. So this is actually quite a bit how it also went into comics, not exactly. And again, when Sony started to unveil the information regarding the upcoming Madam Web film trailers and all of the TV spots, that Sony is pretty much doing their version of the Madam Web storyline, and they're not adapting that much of the stuff from the comics. But as it turns out, but again with a twist, they're actually adapting lots of stuff from the source material there. And again, there already has been a quite evident connection between Cassandra and Peru, because as we have seen in the official trailer for Madam Web itself, her mother was experimenting at spiders in Peru. So there is a quite major connection, and it actually reveals a lot about the film and how the story is forming up in the Madam Web. And again, talking about the previous video in which we discussed how Sony was initially going to feature Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, then it was Tom Holland Spider-Man, but at the end of the day they realized that they have messed up the timelines. They cut off all of the references regarding Spider-Man in Madam Web film, much like what happened with the Morbius film and much like what happened with Venom Let There Be Carnage as well. It was one of the major post-credit scenes that we could have ever get And again, it did not go the way we were expecting it in Spider-Man versus Tom Hardy's Venom film. It sure for not went that way. So pretty much what we have already seen, and how every time Sony have went on to introduce their own Spider-Man to the Sony Spider-Man universe, it just not have went to the direction that we were all hoping for, and even Sony were hoping for. It just does not go that way. But in the future we actually might see a connection, and we can see the overall picture where everything is headed, especially including Madam Web. And as I'm speaking, I'm also thinking that Sony have already established connection between MCU and the Sony Spider-Man universe, which does not have any Spider-Man, even though it is called that they have already evidently set up in connection between that. So, and given there's a quite high possibility of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man showing up in the MCU once again, so there might be in connection between MCU and Sony Spider-Man universe, which is already established, and Madam Web, as well as Loki, who is literally holding the whole multiverse together. There can be a major crossover with all of these characters, and I'm really looking forward to it. And again, it's multiverse saga all over the place. Everyone is literally going on that concept, and I mean, there are just so many possibilities of how and when these characters are going to show up. So with that thought, I think it is time to see you guys off. Well, that's it for this video guys, but before you go, you can consider to grab the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel or DC update. I'm so glad that you guys got the time to hear me out. Thanks for listening to me. This is your host Adi signing off. See you in the next one.